Hello and welcome to Demigods and Monsters, the series where I highlight some fantastic creatures from British mythology. And today I want to tackle one of the most famous of them all, the dragon. Today's tale concerns Ravaged, the Red Dragon of Wales, and I want to apologise in advance to any Welsh listeners for my poor pronunciation. I will try my best. Once, so the legends tell, Britain was ruled over by a king called Lludd. Lludd was a noble king and much beloved by his people, and yet his kingdom was beset by 3 great plagues. The first of these plagues was an invasion by the fairy race known as the Corynæans. The Corynæans had the magical ability to hear anything that was spoken, no matter how quietly. As such, it was impossible to do them any harm or to plot against them, for nothing could be kept secret from them. The second plague was a terrifying scream heard all across the land every May Eve. It stripped men of their strength, made women miscarry, animals turned barren, and plants withered and died. The third and final plague affected the stores at Lludd's own castle. No matter how many provisions he set aside, no matter how many guards he set to watch over them, the day after the stores had been filled, they were found empty again, not a single grain remaining. King Lludd was at a loss. What was he to do? But fortunately, he had a younger brother, King Llefelys of Gaul, who was famed for his wisdom. King Lludd took a ship and set sail from the south coast of England. His brother Llefelys did the same and set sail from the north coast of Gaul, and they met in the middle of the Channel. To keep their conversation a secret, King Lludd had fashioned a bronze horn through which they could talk to one another. However, when Llefelys used the horn, all that Lludd could hear were insults. This, they determined, was because a demon had taken up residence inside the horn. So they cleansed the horn with wine, and then they were able to talk freely. And so finally, Llefelys was able to give his older brother his advice. For the first plague, the invasion of the Corynæans, Llefelys instructed his brother to grind up some magical insects and brew a potion with them. King Lludd did as he was told, and summoned both his people and the Corynæans to a great meeting under a pretense of brokering peace. However, once everyone had gathered, King Lludd sprinkled the potion across the assembled crowd. The Britons were unharmed, but the Corynæans burned and dissolved in agony. For the second plague, the Scream, Llefelys told his brother to find the exact centre of Britain, and there to dig a big pit and to fill the pit with mead, and then finally to cover the pit with a silk cloth. The Scream, you see, was caused by 2 dragons fighting in the skies above the kingdom, a local red and an invading white. The dragons fought up and down the land, driving themselves to exhaustion, and as their limbs tired, they flew across the centre of the country and fell from the sky, landing atop the silk cloth. They plunged into the mead, drinking it and falling into a deep, drunken slumber. And then, quick as a flash, King Lludd wrapped them up in the silk sheet and threw them both into a stone chest, which he sealed tight. And then he buried the chest deep underground. For the third and final plague, the thefts from the castle stores, Llefelys told his brother to dismiss his guards and to stand watch himself, but to do so with an open barrel of water in front of him. For, Llefelys had reasoned, a magical spell was putting the guards to sleep, which is why they saw no intruder. King Lludd did as he was bid, and, sure enough, he felt magical slumber overtaking him. However, as his head dipped, it plunged into the icy water inside the barrel, waking him back up. This happened again and again over the course of the night, and again King Lludd was brought back to wakefulness. Until finally, he spotted a giant sneaking its way into the castle. King Lludd snatched up his sword and lunged at the giant. They battled long and hard, but finally the king bested him. And recognizing his defeat, the giant swore loyalty to King Lludd for the rest of his days. And that's how, with the help of his brother Llefelys, King Lludd was able to vanquish the 3 plagues besetting the land of Britain. King Lludd ruled peacefully for many a year, and when finally he died, he was buried on the hill now known as Ludgate, at his fortress in Caer Lludd, later known as Caer Lunden, or, more simply, London. But our story doesn't end here. What became of those dragons that King Lludd buried so deep? Well, for that, we need to move forward in time and consider a boy named Merlin. During the 5th century, Britain was ruled over by one King Vortigern. He hadn't inherited the title, though. Instead, he had stolen it, having arranged the death of King Constans and exiled Constance's younger brothers, Aurelius Ambrosius and Uther Pendragon, to Brittany. Because of this, Vortigern's position as king was shaky at best. So, to shore up that position, he allied himself with Hengist and Horsa, chiefs of the Saxons and the Angles. Hengist and Horsa took advantage of Vortigern's weakness, however, claiming more and more land for their peoples, and forcing Vortigern and the Britons further and further north and west. And so, at the time of our tale, we find Vortigern in Dinas Emrys, a mountain in North Wales, trying and failing to build a new fort for himself. No matter how hard his men worked, his fortifications kept collapsing. So, in desperation, Vortigern turned to his soothsayers. They told him that in order to successfully complete the fort, he would need the blood of a blonde-haired child, born not of mortal man. Vortigern sent his men far and wide to find such a child, and eventually they returned with a boy called Merlin. A boy who, so it was said, was conceived when his mother had slept with an incubus. Vortigern was delighted. All he had to do now was sacrifice this child, and his tower would no longer collapse. Merlin, however, had other ideas, and even at this young age, he was gifted with a silver tongue. He challenged Vortigern's soothsayers, asking why none of them had been able to divine the true cause of the tower's collapse. He encouraged Vortigern to dig, and dig deep, to find the truth of the matter. Amused, Vortigern decided to humour the boy. And so they dug, and they uncovered a pit, and within the pit they uncovered a pool, and within the pool they uncovered a chest. And within the chest they found 2 dragons, one red and one white. The 2 dragons once buried by King Lludd. Merlin told Vortigern that the red dragon represented the people of Britain, and the white, the invaders, the Saxons and the Angles, and that, thanks to Vortigern's treachery, the white dragon was in the ascendant. However, this was only a temporary situation. According to Merlin, the red dragon would soon rise again to take its revenge. Vortigern was afraid. He knew that Merlin's prophecy could only speak of the younger brothers of King Constans and their descendants. he turned to the boy. "How," he asked, "am I to die?" And Merlin laughed. "If the Saxons don't get you first," he said, "the brothers of Constance will, and they will burn you alive within your tower." And then Vortigern fled, hiding within a fortified keep. Far to the south, the armies of Aurelius and Uther were marching. They marched west from London to the mountains, and there, at last, they found the man that had murdered their older brother. Their troops surrounded the keep and stacked wood about its base, and that evening the soldiers lit the pyre. Vortigern climbed ever upwards, but there was no escape from the flames. And down below, Merlin watched and smiled. And what of Merlin's prophecy? Did the red dragon rise once more? Well, that's a tale for another day. A tale of the son of Uther Pendragon, one Arthur, the man who defended his homeland against the invading Angles. What I'll leave you with is this: the fact that to this day, the red dragon flies resplendent at the heart of the flag of Wales. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story, and if you did, please like, comment and subscribe down below. And let me know what other mythical creatures you'd like me to cover in the future. I look forward to sharing more stories with you very soon.